It's right.
It's left.
It's conservative.
It's progressive.
It's national.
It's local.
It's business.
It's personal.
It's just two old guys
Sitting in a garage.
wondering when.
People are going to get off the grass.
It's the Weathered Soul Podcast live from Personal Production Studios in Gilroy, California. We would like to welcome you to Gilroy's #1 podcast and only podcast that I know of. And we hope that you'll enjoy the next hour or so of whatever it is we want to say. So just kick back and here we go. Hello guys, how you doing? This is Bruce Weathered Soul, and you got DJ Dougie over there. There he is. How you doing, DJ Dougie? And you guys got the Weathered Soul podcast right now, and I'm just kind of doing a couple little things because I have got the chat lines open on both Facebook. I got the chat lines open over on YouTube, and I can see everybody coming on here. So I just want to let you guys know that it's a pleasure to have you here tonight, and we are the Weathered Soul podcast. I am Bruce the Weathered Soul, and that is DJ Dougie. And we just love to have you here, man. We think it's great that you're here and around, and I want to make sure that I've got all the sound that I don't need taken off of here because it's just one of those things I just need to do here. Yep, there we go. I got to get that off of there. But the chat lines are open if you want to comment either on Facebook or YouTube. I'm not going to be able to type a response to you, but if I see your guys' comments and stuff coming in, I'll definitely make sure that you guys get your questions answered and other things. Man, how you doing, Dougie? How's your week going? How was your weekend, man?
Oh, weekend was long and boring, man. It sucked, you know.
Oh, really?
How weekends are, yeah. Things are much better now, man. Back at work, everything's good.
So that nice California sunshine, that summery type weather that we had over the weekend didn't affect you, and you just kind of just stayed in the house and turned gray.
Yeah, what else are you supposed to do when you're not working? Don't we live to work? Doesn't life suck when work ends?
There's my Dougie, man. He takes my sunshine away when But this is the Weathered Soul podcast. You got Bruce Weathered Soul here. I want to thank you guys for being here. You can get us on our website, and I'm going to show you the website right now because it's very important to me that you go to the website and say, "Hey guys, we see that you're here." And you go there by getting there to the Weathered Soul Liberty Network.libsyn.com, and you can get all our podcasts right there. And I'll scroll down and show you that our last podcast, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Sedition, that we did last week, is posted up there, and our New Year's post is up there. And me and Dougie, we have fun doing all this stuff. It's all around. You can get over to the Weathered Soul Liberty Network on Facebook, and that is a fan page. And basically today, what I've got, it's been a great weekend. I mean, it was just a wonderful weekend for me. Got a lot of things done around the house. Enjoyed the weather. I went and spent the Saturday afternoon in Carmel swinging golf clubs, and I definitely got my swing. My dollar per swing down, so cost me $120 to play, and I shot 112, so I was close to $1 a swing. So
that's not bad. That's almost as much as putt costs.
You know what? It was actually I shot a 111. The best I've ever shot there was a 112. So I'm better. I did better.
Yeah.
But, it was a wonderful weekend, man. You couldn't have asked for a better weekend. Nice and sunny. First time I've had my shorts and flip-flops on in a couple of months, and just soaking up the vitamin D and soaking it all in to freaking fight that COVID off. And
the UV rays getting into your body.
Oh yeah, the UV rays.
Keep your mouth open while you're looking up.
Oh, dude, I did. I just, had a little bleach to inject in me too at the same time. So I got the double whammy, for this weekend. It was running pretty good. And
it was a beautiful weekend. Yesterday afternoon I was sitting in the backyard and I was checking out the sky, and it was like when I grew up we used to call it a Bermuda sky because it's like that just incredible blue.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It really was. It was like crystal clear. There's no mist, no humidity in the air. There's no smog. Really looked nice. It was a really gorgeous day.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, I was hanging out in the backyard on Saturday. I was kind of lounging with my shirt off in my shorts, soaking up some sun. And actually, I was thinking. Yeah. I was thinking my white ass gonna turn pink pretty soon. I better go inside.
Well, I spent Sunday afternoon in the backyard cooking up some ribs, and those of you that are fans of the Weathered Soul podcast, or just even my friend on Facebook, I'm actually going to write a blog. I actually what I did was I went and I chronicalized by photograph. I used my cell phone, and I photographed every step that I took to make my ribs. From the equipment that I used all the way to where I prep the ribs and everything that I do to get baby ready. Baby is the name of my smoker, and I did all of that stuff just for you guys. So I'm going to blog it out and show you how I make my world famous ribs. I mean, at least they're world famous in my world. So Doug's had my ribs before, and I'm sure
some of your friends would say, "Oh, you're going to give a demonstration of all the things you shouldn't do." Bob
and Kevin, I know they think that their ribs are much better than mine, but I don't put mine in the oven. Okay, I don't put mine I put mine in a smoker.
You don't boil them first?
I don't boil them first. Nothing. I don't do any of that communist stuff that they do.
Nice dry smoke, man. Low temperature.
But that was my weekend. We got a little yard work done. Put a little water on the ground because it hasn't rained here yet. So we had to. The plants were looking pretty down and stuff like that. So we got a little bit of stuff going on. Getting ready for the summer because this week or this year I'm opening up. I mean, I don't care what freaking Gavin Newsom says about the COVID. I'm opening up. I've got stuff to do. Those you guys want to come over and social distance and do whatever you want to do. That's fine. I'm cooking food, playing music, and that's what I'm going to be doing in my backyard. You're invited if you want to come. So, and that's what's happening with Bruce Weathered Soul. But I purposely did not call you, Dougie, today because I wanted your reaction when you heard this.
Because, yeah, that's what I figured.
Because
I know how it works.
Well, only because of the fact that we've been doing this show for how long now? Me and you, about a couple of years. I've been doing this show for I've been doing the show for about 3 years. Dougie's been my co-host for 2 years of that.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 100 episodes, huh?
We've got over 100 episodes in the books, and I had to come to the realization that the needle's not moving. And I've got to think about what we're using for time. I mean, I enjoy my time with Doug. I mean, me and Doug, we talk a couple of times a week. I mean, so here's my story is that, me and Doug, we put a lot of effort. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort to sit here and do the podcast. Okay. So we can sit here, it's like a phone call to me and Doug. We sit here and we banter about things that are going on back and forth. And surprisingly enough, we do the same thing on our phone calls when we get together on the weekends. So, I mean, it's not really much different.
And texts.
And texts and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's but in the background, there's a considerable amount of work that goes on. I have to maintain a couple of group pages. I've got other podcasts that I do. I've got bills to pay. I've just got equipment that I have to take care of and things like that. And when things aren't moving the needle, you have to make a situation kind of where you got to take an evaluation of the situation. So what I'm asking everybody to do tonight, and I know we got a couple of people that are watching right now. We got 2 people in the room right now, and I just want to thank you guys for being here because it's really important that you guys are here because I have shut down the Weathered Soul podcast group on Facebook, not the WSLN network, but the Facebook group has been shut down. It's been shut down because if I'm not getting any feedback, if I'm not getting any comments, except for the same 5 people, we got 87 people in the group. The same 5 people are the only ones that are actually interacting in the group. And you know what? Basically, we need more than that. Okay. So for me to moderate the group, to get in there and voice my opinions every day, get shot down, get shot up, get dogpiled or have victories, whatever, the fact of the matter is that it takes a considerable amount of time out of my day to do those things. And I do those things for you guys. I do those things in order for you guys to have some kind of comment or some kind of an emotional reaction that I know that you're out there, number one, and then I try to start up a dialogue or something that we can have a conversation so I can have content for the podcast. So basically what I've been doing for the past, I don't know, about 6 months or so is just making my own content. I mean, I do get some comments and stuff, and I appreciate them. Believe me, I appreciate everybody that signed up for the group. The 5 people that constantly come in and post stuff. I appreciate you guys immensely that you guys even watch this podcast. We got 3 in the room now. Hey, hit that share button, hit that like button, hit that bell if you're on the YouTube. Subscribe, because here's what I'm going to do right now. Here's what's happening. It's time to save the Weathered Soul podcast. And I'm saying that with all sincerity, because we have had, I mean, Doug knows that every show that we've ever done, we've been asking you to go give us a iTunes rating, a comment, a suggestion, a question, whatever. We're getting nothing. Okay, we went from 300. We went from 300 listeners back last year, and we're down to about 25. Okay, which if we're just gonna be echo chambering to 25 people, I mean, it's better off that me and Dougie just talk on the phone, because to me, 25 people is not going to move the needle one way or the other, whether I need sponsorships or whether I put effort into this webcast and also the podcast. So please, just take a minute out of your time, go to your iTunes. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have Apple out there, so go to iTunes. Even if you don't have Apple out there, go to iTunes and go leave a rating for us. Go find the Weathered Soul podcast. We're easy to find. Just type in Weathered Soul podcast. We're there. Leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. Add a comment, add a suggestion, or add a question. Let us know what you want to hear, because that's what we need. We want to hear. We're open on the YouTube chat right now. We're open on the Facebook chat right now. Let us know what's going on, because if we don't know what you guys like and what you don't like, we don't know what to talk about. And also, like I said, if you're on the YouTube right now, hit that share button and hit that like button. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that bell to remind you when we post anything on WSLN, because basically, Dougie's not on social media. It's just me. So Dougie's one part of a podcast. I have 3 of them. 2 of them, one of them is doing very well. Bruce for Liberty has just started back up. That was my first ever podcast. I brought it back. I don't expect to have 1 million followers right now. I don't expect to have 25 followers right now, but I've got a good following over in the Independent My Stomach podcast. But it seems that the Weathered Soul podcast just doesn't seem to interest a lot of people. So what I'm asking you guys to do is just please give us some kind of input. Give us something that we need to know, so I know that you guys are out there. And we got a couple of people that just say that we have great content, and somebody just did that was Dougie giving us his own little views on what's going on. And I love Dougie to death, because that's what Dougie does, man. But seriously, and I wanted Dougie to hear that first off by me on the podcast, because I want to know, I just kind of want to know. I said, what do you think about, number one, podcasts? I mean, I know Doug, I don't know if Dougie listens to podcasts. I know he listens to a lot of radio. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and the effort and the production and the work that goes behind each and every one of the podcasts that I listen to are very, very important. I mean, it is kind of like having a radio show, and it is, it is equipment based. There's a cost behind it. And actually what the essence of the show is that you need an essence of the show. So I think we have a flavor of a show that we have, but also the push is that we need advertisers. And the only way we get advertisers is when we get listeners and we get followers. Okay. And once YouTube and Libsyn and all those people start seeing that we got followers and stuff, then they start giving us opportunities for advertisers. I haven't done a lot of canvassing around the around my neighborhood to kind of get advertisements there. We kind of just got back into this live thing with the video podcasting, and we actually just went from Anchor to Libsyn, and we're not quite everywhere yet, but still the fact of the matter is that our listenership remains flat. And it's just one of those things that, if I'm not going to get the kind of audience that I need to keep going forward, then I'm just going to have to shut down the podcast. And I really don't want to do that, because I know that Dougie, he enjoys, sitting here and chatting with me for an hour, every Monday night, even though we chat for like 3 hours a freaking week. But, we do this.
So Bruce, it sounds like you got to do something to get some notarization.
Yeah, I don't know whether it is whether
what should we do?
I don't know whether to
town hall,
storm the police department or something. I don't know what we need to do. So I think that's
maybe we should paint freedom like in the middle of Monterey Highway or something.
How about Dougie's Life Matters or something like that? I don't know.
Doug Lives Matter.
Doug's Lives Matter.
No, just Doug. Doug Lives Matter.
Doug
all the
Matter.
Dougs. All the Dougs.
But we're all starting this. And you know what? Basically, I came on this podcast tonight. I don't have any content tonight, and that's a fact. I've been thinking about this all day, so this is probably going to be a short podcast.
Well, that's the thing too, Bruce. If our listeners have an interest, right, and let us know, we could plan a podcast around that, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
If they want to know how to make ribs, we could talk about that. They want to know Dutch oven cooking, we talk about that. They want to know, about how to build a campfire. I mean, what the hell? We can talk about anything they want. We don't have to talk about politics or any stupid shit like that if we don't want to.
If you know what, I've been wanting to so much get away from COVID and politics and other stuff like that, because like I said, I'm Bruce the Weathered Soul. I became a weathered soul because I've lived a long time and I've had a lot of freaking experience, and so does DJ Dougie. And you know what? We have all these wealths of experience and all this information that we can tell you, but we just don't know what you want to hear. We started out as a political, as kind of satirical political podcast, and we caught the attention of about 300 followers, and it was going really, really good. And then just like all of a sudden it just fell off. And I can blame myself for some of it, because there was a time there where we had a dip in being able to produce the podcast. I had tragedy in my family. Doug had a couple tragedies in his family. We had the COVID thing. There's all kinds of things. And believe me,
trying to get set up to do this live with the COVID thing going on. There was a lot of missed shows, some technical difficulties, stuff like that. So we had a rough spring. We did.
Yeah, it's been a rough sprint for everybody. We're not the only podcast that is experiencing this, and we just want to actually put out there that, hey, ladies and gentlemen, there's podcasts out there. There's a thing called podcasting, and a lot of people don't know that there's this thing called podcasting. And
a lot of people I know listen to various podcasts of one kind or another, especially the guys, like guys I work with and stuff.
Great, yeah.
I tell them about our podcast, and I got a couple of them that even say, hey, you doing a podcast tonight? I said, yeah. And they're like, what was that again? I tell them the name, and, I don't know if they watch us or not. I don't, they get home, they get busy, they forget about it, whatever. But, there are people interested.
Yeah, great. And we got Nicole on, and we got Josh Forsyth on the other side, and they're just giving us a big thumbs up, and they think that we have great content and a great back and forth. And I just love these guys being able to come in here and chat and content. That's what we need. We need that interaction between the people, and I just don't know what it is. Do we do the WKRP in Cincinnati bit where we go up in a helicopter and throw turkeys out of the helicopter?
Frozen turkeys.
Oh my God!
Frozen turkeys. We have to do frozen turkeys. What do you mean they went right through your roof?
Yes, but it's just very important to us. And like I said, here we go. I'm gonna spam you guys again with something here, and it's just like, we need to know. We need to know you're out there. So please save the Weathered Soul podcast. Leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. Add a comment. Add a suggestion, add a question, press that. And if you're on YouTube, press that like button, press that share button. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that bell to remind when we post on WSLN, because on WSLN, I've got 3 podcasts on there. I've got Bruce for Liberty podcast, which is my own podcast. I go on there. I have guests. I'll probably have Dougie on here pretty soon on the Bruce for Liberty podcast, and that's strictly we talk about liberty and freedom. We try to stay away a little bit off of politics, but politics are involved. Faith is involved in it. There's all kinds of personal responsibilities involved. There's all kinds of things that are involved in freedom and liberty. And I like to be able to branch off, and Doug doesn't have to be my altar, bring Bruce down to earth guy there. He can be, Dougie. And I'm going to be doing that on Thursday, on Wednesday nights. Also, I have the Independent My Stomach, which is my entrepreneurial podcast, and I do that for my Plexus business, my network marketing business that I have, and it's just a very good podcast. I think about that that content that I put out, and I love to do it for you guys. And it's just one of those things that we just need the listenership. I just need people to be involved and put your comments in. But unfortunately, like I said, I had to just, I'm gonna take the Weather Soul podcast group down. It's one of those things that, number one, it's not bearing any fruit. I really would like the podcast and the YouTube channel to take off, so I'm concentrating on other things like WSLN. I'm concentrating on my business. I'm concentrating on a lot of other things. I really don't want the podcast to go. So that's one of the reasons why I'm saying save the Weather Soul podcast. Hit that share button, hit that like button, hit that bell on the top that says, when we're coming on live. And I'm going to give this podcast, this live podcast, a couple of days. I'm going to keep hitting my YouTube channel. I'm going to keep hitting my Facebook channel. I'm going to keep hitting my MeWe channel. I'm going to keep hitting the Twitter channel that I'm on and stuff like that. And I just, if you guys can get some listenership in here, if I can get some comments in here, if you can move me up the charts on iTunes, which is the only way the podcasts move up the charts is how many hits that they get on iTunes. And that's a fact. I mean, that is the ladder that you have to climb to get noticed in the podcast realm. You have to be on iTunes, and the sooner that you guys give us a rating on there, the better. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. But hey, we're looking at an important week, huh, Dougie? We got the inauguration coming up. We got 25,000 troops that are sitting in Washington D.C. More troops than we've ever sent.
Oh my God!
we have in Afghanistan right now, and I'm just praying and hoping that everything goes off without a hitch. I'm all for the peaceful transition, and it looks like it's probably going to happen, except for the loonies that are out there on the fringes on both sides. And I kind of want to put that in because I am really praying for that. A lot of people, because I happen to side, and I'm a libertarian. A lot of people lump me in with the Trump supporter, and I think it's unfair that happens. But I do happen to think that liberty and freedom are important. I love America. This is my country. Dougie loves America. It's his country, and we don't want to see anything happen to it because.
Who lumps you in with the Trump shit?
We get a lot of feedback from the libertarian groups that are being because because there's this fib that says that we lean only conservative. Well, we are conservative, but we are liberal too. I mean, and there's this mindset with some people.
You're conservative. You're not Republican.
No, I'm not Republican. Yeah, exactly. I gave up Republican. I don't even think I ever was a Republican. So
certainly not a re-Trump. I wish.
But in the social media, But in the social media realm, what is going on is the fact that they do lump us in with the conservative movement. They do lump us in with "Make America Great Again" crowd, and wanting to side with the Boogaloo people and all that other crap that's been going on. That's
Well,
really
I certainly hope not.
well, they do. Now, I live in that bubble.
Well,
And
I hope there isn't real good cause for that, because that would be
well, I just think it's
completely non-libertarian in my eyes.
yeah, and
There's
I just
nothing
think
libertarian about Republican.
no, there's nothing libertarian about Republican.
Not in my eyes, at least not the Republicans we have
No,
now.
because if you want to talk about conservative, we're conservative with the way that we like our finances run.
Yeah.
The Republicans and Trump, we're never conservative with the money, and likewise likewise with the Democrats.
Yeah, well,
We're not going to get into that. I just want to
say
say,
I'm conservative. I'm damn Yankee conservative, which means like you just don't like wasting stuff.
yeah, and then I'm liberal with the fact that I think everybody should be taken care of when shit happens, and stuff like that. And that the government, with the taxes that we pay, we should damn well be taken care of instead of taking care of freaking thousands, or not thousands of countries, but dozens of countries.
Well, that's a good point with taxes. Like, for instance, you're talking about gasoline taxes, and how outrageous that is. So many dollars, $1.20 per gallon, whatever we're paying up for allegedly road tax, and all that. Well, so here you go. So somebody who drives in, an 8,000-pound pickup truck with a 400 cubic inch engine, screaming down the highway at 90 miles an hour has absolutely no right to bitch about that tax.
Right,
Because they're wasting money.
Yeah, but
you're buying a hell of a lot of gasoline you don't need to buy. Now, you had a 70 mile per gallon Prius. Okay, now you're not paying that much tax, are you, anymore?
That's true.
But aren't complaining now.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Yeah, but
here's your choice.
But here's one of the things about that. And actually, the taxes, I think it's $1.43.
Yeah.
It's about $1.43 a gallon now.
Yeah.
That does. Excuse me. That doesn't hurt me. Okay, would I like to pay less than have that $1.43? Yeah,
it sounds like a huge amount. Regardless,
that'd be great. But $1.43 is taxed to the most the most poorest person who can't do that. Okay, so in order for single mom, we talk about single mom with 2 kids, 3 kids, got to go to work every day, and her work's freaking 35, 40 miles away. She's got to pay that $1.43 more a gallon so she can get herself back and forth to work.
Well, what the real sin there is.
Yeah.
There's 2 things. One, the first is that she can't live closer to work.
Right.
Yeah. Because she can't afford to. And the second sin is that there's not good public transportation that can get her there efficiently and without taking 6 hours.
Right, exactly. And the fact is that okay, so single mom with 3 kids, no dad at home, and living, making pennies to anybody else.
50 gallons a week in their tank.
Putting 50 gallons a week in her tank. Yeah, she doesn't pay any income tax, but she's getting taxed from life. She's getting taxed from the sales tax. She's getting taxed from the gas that she has to use back and forth to work. She's getting just tax, just like us are getting. Me and you are getting taxed. But because we're a little bit more upper middle class. I mean, we absorb that a little bit better. I mean, would I like to have less taxes? Fantastic. I would love to have less.
Yeah, but then you just have more money to spend. Then inflation would go up.
Yeah, because we can't win for losing, and that's how it
exactly.
Is. That's really kind of it is. But really, this is.
Anyway, that's just what I'm saying. That's just the point I'm trying to make. It's like, there's conservative, and then there's I just want my way.
Right.
Conservative is conservative.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to act like me. Is not conservative.
Yeah, well,
that's something else entirely.
Let's make no mistake. When I'm talking about conservatives and liberals, I'm talking more about those people that are in that are in the Congress and the congressional chambers. And when I'm talking about conservative and liberals, as far as paying taxes, I'm talking about me and you, the people that are just probably on the right or the left side of something, but we have a lot of stuff in common, and we can talk about it. And I think what happens with this podcast a lot is that people think that me and you are on on one side or the other. And I did bring you on because I wanted you to be the altar, Bruce, and bring me back down to earth. But there's a lot of times that we always, kind of like All in the Family. If anybody has watched All in the Family, because I'm a weathered soul, right? We always come back together at the end of the show, and we look at each other and go like, yeah, that's what life's about, man.
Archie.
Yeah, Archie. But I mean, do not make any mistake that those people that are sitting in the Congress and the person that's going to be taking the oath on January 20th does not give a fuck about you. And I really honestly believe that in my soul. And it's going to take a lot of reprogramming for me to get back into the government trust, because
I think that all, that government does care about us, but in different ways. Okay. Republicans care about business, and if business is good, then the people are good. And Democrats care more about social welfare, and if social welfare is strong, then the people are good.
Yeah.
It's just differences in philosophies.
But there used
bottom line is, though, they're as politicians, that's their career, and what they're really most interested in is retaining that.
Exactly, getting reelected and
Yes.
retaining their power, because there used to be a time where Republicans and Democrats used to be able to do something, and used to be able to make decisions, and used to be able to compromise, and used to be able to do all kinds of things that I remember them doing. I mean, I've never, ever, I'm looking at what's going on right now, and I'm just going like, I've never seen this in my whole life, dude.
Couldn't imagine it. I could not imagine. And if I ever did, I would imagine it would have been much worse. Like the Army would have been there with B-52s bombing the crowd and stuff. I mean, really, in my childhood dreams of what would have happened if
Yeah, and I had Josh Forsyth on my Bruce for Liberty episode last week, and he talks to his father all the time. They live close to each other, and his father's just going like, I've never ever seen anything like this, and he's older than us. I mean,
this would have killed my parents.
Yeah, I'm sure that my mom is sitting back in astonishment. My dad has since passed away, but I mean, if he was alive, he'd be saying the same thing. I'm just sitting here shaking my head, and the reason why I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I came up with this podcast, and I came up with the Bruce for Liberty podcast, which the Weather Soul podcast was actually a hybrid of the Bruce for Liberty podcast, because I didn't want to be all one-sided with just liberty and Libertarian Party and blah 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 blah, because I kind of moved from a big L to a little L, but the essence was the fact that I wanted to be upfront with people about where I'm coming from. A lot of people say when I write my opinions on the Facebook and stuff like that I sound very mean and grisly and stuff like that. So I came up with the podcast, and putting my face on here so you can see my facial expressions and my emotion and things like that, saying like, people, come on. Because we really have a lot more in common than you think we do, and just because I didn't believe in Obamacare or the ACA didn't mean that I'm just this tyrant that just wants everybody to die. I want the same thing you want. I want the insurance companies to quit dipping in and making a great big huge bureaucracy where they raise up prices and stuff like that. And whether the ACA comes in or Medicare for all, which we had a discussion about last week, I don't care about that. Just as long as I don't have to, as long as I can opt in or opt out. That's all I care about.
Right. People shouldn't become doctors. People shouldn't become doctors with the intent to be a millionaire.
Exactly.
Become doctors with the intent to heal.
With the intent
and
to
make
heal.
a living.
And make a living. Yeah, exactly. And for that fact, I really don't care how much you make, just as long as you're a good doctor. I don't care how much you make, just as long as you're a good teacher. I don't care how much you make if you make cell phones or freaking cars or whatever. Just make them good and make them freaking affordable and things like that, because you can do that.
Well, one reason why our medical expenses are so high is because the hospital has to make up for all of the losses for people who can't pay for their medical expenses.
That
So that's
correct.
one reason why we get it up the ass, because so many people without insurance.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people I work with don't have insurance.
Yeah.
My company doesn't offer insurance.
Okay.
And if you don't have your own insurance, you don't have insurance.
Yeah,
They get sick. They walk into the emergency room or to critical care, or whatever, and they say, my thumb is hanging off. Sew it back on. And by the way, I got no money. So you want a 15-year-old car?
Yeah.
So that bill goes to you and me.
I've heard a lot of debates back in the, that went back into the 60s that, when they made these new regulations that said that, quote, employers, I think at a certain, how
Size.
many people you have, have to give their employees insurance. And this was, I think, back in the late 50s, early 60s. I really don't have
it's like
on it.
50 or bigger or something like that.
And this is what they blame the catalyst on. This big, huge behemoth freaking insurance freaking industry arrived from. We go back to 1911.
Those companies had to find insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
And that made a market.
Exactly. And then off you go. Here we go, building. We're doing the same thing with pet insurance. You know that. I know that. We both have. What's going up? I pay cash. I pay cash for all my stuff.
Got to charge us more to make up for what the insurance company isn't.
We're getting paid more because Truvillian or whatever it is paying everything for a doggy cold, and whatever. All of a sudden now you can't even get into the vet now, so because the vet's all filled up with freaking homeless doggies or whatever. But the same thing happens. Same thing happened with the Fed, man. Back in 1911, 1913 when the Fed was introduced. We didn't have. I mean, why the Fed was introduced was for the reason that we had a gold-backed dollar. Things weren't quite working out, so the government came up with this industry called the Fed, which was never a government industry, and now it's ballooned up into this huge behemoth, and now we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt because of the handshake and partnership between the Federal Reserve and the central banks, and just. These are all these things that me and Dougie talk about. These are things that we really don't want to talk about. We'd rather talk about ribs and freaking music and things like that. But we want to talk about the things of the day, the things that
a lot of this stuff had to have been done, and there's reasons why. Competing in a world market, there isn't enough gold to back our economy anymore.
Oh well,
right? I mean, there's too many people with too much money for there to be that much gold.
Yeah, probably. You're probably correct. Yeah, you're probably correct. Even though they still hoard it and they still hedge it.
But inflation, without going off the gold standard, inflation would be, it'd be almost like money would be a very, very rare thing to find because there would only be, there wouldn't be enough dollars for everybody to have one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There wouldn't be enough. There's too many people.
Exactly. So anyway, so what me and Dougie are doing here tonight is we're doing one thing and one thing only. We are making sure that you guys know that you need to save the Weathered Soul podcast. If you like this content that we're giving you tonight, I'm telling you right now, our viewership is down, our listenership is down, and I don't want to take this podcast down, but if it's not moving the needle, folks, I got to let it go because there's other things that are moving the needle. And like I said, me and Dougie will talk 3 or 4 times a week. Doesn't matter whether you're there or not, but we enjoy bringing you this for 30 minutes, an hour every week. All you got to do is if you're on YouTube right now, leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. Give me a comment or suggestion or a question. We'll try to answer it on the air. And then if you're, like I said, if you're on the YouTube, press that like button, hit that share button. And while you're at it, make sure you hit the bell to remind you when we post anything here on WSLN. And probably people are wondering, what the hell is WSLN? Well, WSLN is my new podcast home, actually. It's let me pull it up here. WSLN, the Weathered Soul Liberty Network. And I don't have it up.
Where's the banner?
I know. Where's the banner at? Where's the banner? Where's the banner? We're going to bring up the banner right now.
I can't find it. It's not here.
I'm going to bring up the banner right now while Dougie sits
good.
there and chews your ear off.
All
but
right. Hey, listen, I had something I wanted to bring up. I wanted to talk to you, personally about this at one point or another, because I think this is a very liberating thing. My brother's girlfriend got a solar power system, and she wanted a backup system for it, like battery / generator, or whatever, because they where they live, the power goes out all the time.
Mm.
So she told me that she hooked up with her contractor, and he came up with this thing. It's a modification and a device where you can hook your Prius battery up to an inverter, have that inverter run your house during power failures, and have the Prius act as your generator.
Wow.
Is that right on?
Wow, that's pretty right on.
Yeah.
That's pretty right on.
You hit the start button, and the Prius battery, starts running off the battery. Battery goes down, the motor starts, charges the battery.
That's kind of cool. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool. See,
Yeah.
innovation. These things are never
It's
gonna
got a lot of Frankenstein stuff, switches, and you got to watch the gauges, make sure your loads are even and all this. So it's not, it's not fully complicated. And the battery, isn't really made for this.
happen. Yeah, but don't
So
tell
you don't want to damage the battery, right? So you got to be careful what you're doing. Keeping the loads balanced and not drawing too much from the battery and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I thought that was right on. I looked into it, and there actually is stuff to do it with. It's not UL listed though, so
yeah. Well, don't tell anybody because they'll regulate her and they'll shut her down. So I mean,
burn your house down. You're not going to get insurance, but
yeah. What happened? Oh, my Prius started my house on fire. How to do that? Oh, I backloaded it into my circuit. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of things that happen. But
I thought it was clever though, and because the same thing. You need to know the voltage of the battery, and then you need to find an inverter that runs at that voltage. Mm-hmm. And that was the hard part, because I think the Prius battery is like 200 volts or something, 200, and that's like no inverters run at 200 volts.
Right.
So maybe they built their own inverter. That's like a kit that they built in their basement. I mean, you can build inverters. It's not rocket science.
Of course, get the old Tandy stuff that we get to build a little radio and freaking go to town on it.
Hey, listen, the first high powered car stereos I used to work on had an inverter in them.
Right.
Yeah, because you couldn't get enough watts out of 12 volts.
Right.
You need too many amps. So you step it up to like 40 or 45 volts, and had a little toroid or loop transformer and oscillator and power transistor turn on and off to make the sine wave. Yep. Step the voltage up, rectify it back to DC.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So, just give everybody the heads up that Dougie here is our electronics expert, our electrical expert. He is the guru of kind of that electrical science stuff. Anything solar, if it moves, it has a motor. If it shocks you when you hit your stuff into the wall, Dougie can tell you what it's all about and tell you how to fix it.
In 1978, I was driving around in the red Econo line with a box of TV tubes.
And those are the kind of things that we would love to talk about. We just need your comments. We just need to know what you guys want to listen to. Do you want us to do a freaking thing on solar? I can tell you how you put the solar on top of my house and got all the stuff in my yard. But
crack the wall.
Crack the wall. But no, those are some of the subjects that we talk about. I mean, I'm a musician. I mean, our band is going back online, the Weathered Souls, of course, because Excellent. I own the name, the Weathered Souls. So everything that I do is Weathered Soul. But we got gigs this year. We're going to open up. We're gonna go back in. We're gonna do some live music and stuff. I can't wait. I mean, so we could talk about music. I've had musical guests on here. I had Michael Gaither on here. I've had a couple of friends of mine that were musicians on here, do some great music. I can bring that back. I mean, there's all kinds of other subjects that we can talk about besides politics and the bad things that are going on in the world. We'd love to bring you that, because that's what we are. We're Weathered Souls, and he's DJ Dougie. I mean, that's what we need. And also, another thing is that we have our WSLN, the Weathered Soul Liberty Network. I'm all about liberty. I'm all about liberty and freedom. I'm all about you guys having personal responsibility enough to go out there and show people that you can live a free life and a life of liberty without stepping on anybody else's toes and being an asshole about it. And that's kind of what I talk about with all of my podcasts, whether it be the Weathered Soul podcast down to Independent of My Stomach to Bruce to Liberty and to the Morning Drive, which I haven't been doing lately either, because that's not been moving the needle. I mean, I did a couple, the first couple of weeks that I was doing them, I was getting great results and stuff right now. And then everything kind of flattened back out. So you can go to the WSLN, the Weathered Soul Liberty Network. That's on YouTube. If you're there, you're already here. So, like I said, hit that share button, hit that like button, and that's where we're going to be. Yeah. And, like I said, leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. I'm going to keep coming back to this. Give us a comment, give us a suggestion, make us a question. Sure. We'll get it on the air.
Anything.
We will. Yeah, anything.
Self-sufficiency. That's one thing I like. My ideal life would be to be totally self-sufficient. Not need to be tied to the grid, not need to be tied to a water system, not need to have to worry about going to the grocery store. Almost, like a frontier thing, but with modern appliances. That would be my ideal thing, is to kind of not have to rely on anybody.
Yeah, it's just it would just be beautiful if we got back to this. Is my utopia, man. My utopia is just being able to do all the things that we're doing now, be able to go to your neighbor's house and go like, hey, can I trade you this for that? Something like that. Let's stop having to go to Safeway. Let's stop having to go to Nob Hill. Let's stop having to go to freaking Costco or call Amazon or whatever. I mean, we're in the middle of COVID, but it ain't, as bad as it seems, man. What we're losing a lot is we're losing community, man. They're ripping communities away from everything because of this COVID. And like I said, me and Dougie, we hashed this back and forth. It's bad. No, there's no doubt about it. It's a virus. It's bad. We're all going to get vaccinated one of these days. This is all going to blow over. But the damage that's being done right now by the things that are going on, by people that don't understand what's going on. Me and Dougie has had this conversation about Florida and Sweden, California, whatever. It really doesn't matter.
I know people who still think that you can get COVID off of food wrappers after they've been frozen in your freezer for a month.
Exactly.
There's a lot of ignorance out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance out there, and there's a lot of things that are just ripping communities apart. And I hope and I pray that when this thing kind of dies down, because I got a feeling that we're, probably by the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year, we'll probably start seeing ourselves getting back to kind of pre-COVID stuff, maybe. I'm hoping so. I'm going to take the lead anyway. I'm just going to do my own thing. Like I said, Dougie knows.
Well, as soon as I can get a vaccine, I mean, my doctor said get a vaccine as soon as you can, but so I'm going to be 60. I don't know, what are we, like third or fourth on the list?
Yeah, we're down there.
So but Abby's got her nephew is getting married in September. We really want to take a trip.
Yeah.
We really want to go back east.
Yeah.
And we're just hoping we can get, either. I don't think shit's going to be under control. We're either going to have the vaccine or it's going to be the same as it is now.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out if any of the blowhards really know what the hell they're talking about here within the next couple of days, and we'll see what happens and turns around. And I suspect the government is going to do exactly the same thing that they've been doing, and that's just dragging their feet. Clusterfuck and everything, because you leave the government to do anything and they're just going to fuck it all up, and just that's the way it is. And for you kiddies that are on there, you weren't supposed to hear that because it's supposed to be a PG podcast, but anyway,
no, that's
not
a military term.
That's a military term. FUBAR.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Hey, we've got two people in the room. We want to thank you guys for being here on the Weathered Soul podcast. You can get us at the Weathered Soul podcast at the the Weathered Soul Liberty Network.libsyn.com will get you to the podcast site where you can see all of our content. And that all of our content, I'm telling you, is, I even got it down here, right here. There we go. Let's check that out.
That's tough to say all in one breath.
That's right. The Weathered Soul Liberty Network with the Weathered Soul podcast on libsyn.com. Let me get rid of this little banner here, and I can show you that too. So if we get rid of that right there, you can see right here the what does it say? Weathered libertynetwork.libsyn.com. That's how you get there. And you can go through our list of podcasts that we've done. We probably have about 50 podcasts on here. I'm adding to that library every day. We've been doing this podcast for, my gosh, me and Dougie's been doing this podcast for about 2 years. I've been doing it for 3. And, it's just something that we love to do every week, man. And like I said, even if we didn't do this podcast, me and Dougie would be talking anyway. So, I mean, this is for your benefit and for your enjoyment. And we just love you to be there.
See, now if we had a couple of beers and maybe a few other things, this would be just like a Saturday night.
It would definitely be just like a Saturday night, but we can't start a fire in the middle of the podcast, so that's
no. But you might be able to animate one in there.
Maybe a little sterno. Maybe I'll put a little sterno thing up here, and then me and you can sit there and just do the things that we're supposed to do in California. Like
yeah, like sniff your sterno. Yeah. I know what you mean.
That's what I'm talking about. But we want to thank you guys for being here. Like I said, there's a reason why we're here tonight. And one of the reasons why is because I have decided that I'm going to evaluate what goes on after this podcast, what goes on in the next in the next week on iTunes, what goes on in the next week on the Facebook page, what goes on next week during Twitter, what goes on in my MeWe page, because you can get me anywhere. You can't get Doug anywhere because he's not on social media, but you can get this Weather Soul podcast on any of your podcatchers. And you can get it on libsyn.com, and you can get it on Facebook, and you can get it on MeWe, and you can get it on Twitter. I mean, there's no reason why you can't watch this content and be perfectly satisfied with it. And not only that, leave us a comment, even if it's a nasty comment, even if you give us a 1-star, at least we know somebody out there is out there listening to us and at least giving us a chance, because that's what we need.
Yeah. And then we won't do that again.
We won't do that again. So save the Weather Soul podcast, leave a 5-star rating on iTunes, add a comment, a suggestion or a question, plus that like button, hit that share button. And while you're at it, make sure you hit the bell to remind it when we post here on WSLN. And Dougie, like I said, man, we're going to cut it off early tonight. This is where I gush all over you, man, because, man, if we stop this, I know that I get to see you every week anyway, and I get to talk to you every week. But it really makes me emotional to know that we put so much effort into this podcast. I mean, really, like I said, it doesn't take a lot of effort to sit down here and do the podcast, but in order to be able to talk in front of people, to be able to project yourself out on a national stage, because we are national and worldwide, it takes a lot. And, we got to be thinking, and we got to be articulating, and there's just a bunch of things that has to happen while we're doing this podcast. And one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is we just want to make sure that we bring you a quality podcast with quality content that you want to be on. And then Josh said, hey, Dougie, what's up, man? Say hi to Josh. Give him a
Josh,
wave.
how you doing, man? Okay, I see you. I see you.
Hey, you suck. Josh and
Fair enough.
have a great relationship.
I'm only here until I get discovered. Okay.
That's true. I'm telling you what, with the lottery the way it is, we've got a quarter. What has it got? $750 million in one of them, and $500 million in the other. And if I happen to hit the lottery, I'm going to be with my new friends, and I won't need this podcast anymore. But.
So then I could buy an audience.
Then I could buy an audience. But anyway,
well,
Josh.
If you had the production funds of like some of these larger podcasts or even a television show or something like that, your show would be quite different.
It would be quite different.
Yeah. But this is what you get for nothing.
That's exactly. That's exactly. So hey, go to YouTube. Like I said, hit that share button, hit that like button, hit that reminder that says whenever we post on WSLN, you're going to be there. We're still on Facebook. Like I said, I'm evaluating this week. If we do happen to shut down the podcast, we will do a farewell episode, because this is not a farewell. This is just a so long until we hear from you guys. We really hope that you guys react to this podcast, because we really enjoy being here on a Monday night with you. And right now, I'd just like to let Dougie do his thing that he does every week and just say good night, Dougie.
Good night, Dougie.
Be free, not as free as they permit, but as free as you can get away with. This is Bruce and Doug from the Weathered Soul Podcast. We love you guys. Have a good evening. We'll see you.